Yes, people, yes, people, yes, people. Welcome back to the We Talk Football podcast. Once again, we're being joined by Louis, and both of these guys are on a high after last night's performance of Chelsea. Let's just jump into it. What did you think about the game, Louis?
I mean, we'll take it. It was a fairly composed performance, I'd say. Porto were arguably the better team to a degree. There was a lot more coming from them, but we were just clinical. Mason Mount, special shout out to that guy. Future England captain, fantastic goal. Ben Chilwell did really well with his as well. And just like a generally sound performance. We played out of the back really well. And as I said, a lot of composure. But I feel like, again, it's just an issue of what we have to offer going forward. And Havertz and Timo Werner, as much as it pains me to say, we're just on the periphery. I don't know if that comes down to Porto's sort of structure and the fact that we weren't really finding them. There was a bit of a disconnect. But, yeah, in general, we just very much need more from our front three. Obviously, Mason always coming up with the goods, but you expect from your, 70 million and 50 million top signings that I'm praying for next season they're going to be there, but the question marks are starting to get bigger and bigger, and it's
100%. Yeah, I agree. What I was saying prior to the game yesterday is that how your front three aren't really firing. You're having to find goals from other parts of the pitch. So you're lucky that Mason Mount did what he did. Great turn, great finish. Obviously, Chilwell as well, taking it around the keeper. Who would have thought that? So it was a great performance for Chelsea. Very composed, very controlled. I think Porto really had their shooting boots on, and you guys had to work for your game. I think Mendy made a few good saves. But on another day, there were a few shots that Porto had that could have gone the other side of the post. So I don't think it's tie over just yet. What do you think, Quakes?
Never in doubt. Like I think both me and Lou predicted like a winning by 2-goal margin. And although Porto had their chances, it's very much a game of the Tuchel era at Chelsea, where people, maybe the neutrals, don't think that Chelsea played that well, but we always come out, apart from the West Brom game, with a victory and a clean sheet. So yeah, Porto had their chances, but nothing that really properly troubled us. And obviously Mason Mount with a fantastic goal. The turn and the finish is just indicative of what he's been doing this season. Obviously, we need to see him add more goals to his game, but it was a great finish. And then Ben Chilwell harnessing his inner Fernando Torres, taking it around the keeper and tucking it away. It was great. It wasn't a great performance, but it was a great result. You can't really ask for much more. I think that is tie over. Can't really see Porto doing much. They didn't have much going forward. Obviously, Sergio Oliveira will be back for the second leg, but I feel like I can't see them scoring 3 goals against us. So that's tie over, in my opinion. And it's just onwards and upwards to Real Madrid in the semi-final.
I feel like we just need to go and nick an early goal. And as you say, tie over. I can't see them knocking 3 past us. But again, football's football, and we just conceded 5 to West Brom.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously with 10 men on the pitch, etc. But Porto did look really, really good, to be fair to them.
In the first half, they looked dangerous, but I've never really threatened. Like Mendy made 1 decent save.
Yeah, a couple decent saves, to be fair.
There were a few decent saves, and there were quite a few shots that snuck past the post that could have gone the other side on another day. Like I don't. You can say I didn't say that you guys didn't play well. I said it was a professional performance. You went out there, you did what you needed to do. You controlled possession for large portions of the game, but there were also portions of the game where you weren't the best team on the pitch. So like it'll be difficult for Porto to come to Stamford Bridge and score 3 goals against you, but
it's in Sevilla, so that it's in a neutral ground, which was as well. But I don't really see it. Like Porto, fair enough, they are a decent team. They gave you a difficult game, but there's a reason why we were celebrating this draw, because Juve are the weakest team in this. So if we don't go through against Juve, we can see 3 goals against them in the second leg. We've got some serious self-reflection to do. I don't see it happening.
I think also in regard to the Porto opportunities, like I haven't seen the XG, but a lot of them are sort of, finding half a yard of space on the edge of the box and finding good opportunities, but not quite hitting the target. So it's like, they're going to have to be worldies to go in. And obviously Oliveira's got that in his locker, but I can't envision them scoring 3 goals.
Oh, it's an uphill battle for them. Like you
Sure.
said, you go to the. To be honest, I didn't know the game was in Sevilla, but you go to Sevilla, you get an early goal, it's tie over. So it's going to be a game largely of game management. What do you see Chelsea lining up with a similar lineup next week, or do you think he'll put some preference on the league for a while?
I reckon Ollie Giroud will probably get the start next week. Although there's just so many question marks around Tammy at the moment. All these stats are popping up. I just find social media really intriguing because, I mean, once, any sports channel gets hold of an interesting stat, they'll run with it. And this is the one that's been, all over it in the past couple of days. Tammy for, any striker under the age of 23 goals and assists. Like, he's topping the charts at the moment. I think maybe bar Kylian and Mbappe.
I think it's barring Erling Haaland, but again, those stats are so skewed because a lot of those goals are scored in the Championship.
Yeah, this is it. This is the balance. But also, let's not take away from what the Championship is. It's a man's league. It's, obviously the quality is not there that would be in the top European leagues, but I mean, it pisses all over the Scottish league.
There are levels, though.
Yeah.
There are levels. To even put him in the same list as Erling Haaland is, it's disingenuous,
sure.
isn't it?
I think the only credibility that can be taken is that if you take Haaland stats from when he scored at Salzburg, I think the Championship is a better league than the Austrian league. So I feel like those stats do carry through in some aspects.
For sure.
But again, but you can't really compare Tammy Abraham to Erling Haaland or Kylian Mbappe. He's not on that level. But to Louis' point, he is an effective striker. So to see him out in the cold of Chelsea and not be given an opportunity is a puzzling one. So I do think in the second leg that we might actually see Tammy play.
Is it so much that he's out in the cold, or is it just like a bit of bad fortune? Obviously, when Tuchel first came in, it was the Wolves game. It was him going with experience. I believe Ollie Giroud started. Then he had, he's picked up knocks and hasn't been able to find consistency. Hasn't really been seemingly working for him in training, and then another knock. And it could just be one of those things. I very much think Tammy's future at Chelsea, I mean, all footballers' futures depend on themselves. Footballers pick themselves in regard to a squad and the first 11. But if he's content to be a third choice, then he'll be staying. But I can see Tammy Abraham knocking in 20 goals for West Ham next year.
Yeah,
I think Tuchel, the appointment of Tuchel was probably from multiple reasons. One, it was a good choice at the time, but also the German connection for Werner and Havertz. I imagine part of his job description was to come in and get those two firing. So I imagine that's why he's he rates Werner, doesn't he? That's why he's in the team, even though he's not really performing to the levels that you would like. I imagine that's the reason why Tammy's not getting as much of a chance. As an outsider, I could be completely off it, but that's my assessment of the situation. In terms of
Well, I was going to say, on the note of Havertz and Timo, obviously you mentioned Timo, and Timo's actually been quite effective. I think the biggest conundrum really is Kai Havertz, because he had a bad game yesterday. But when
missed an open goal.
What does he actually do? What does he actually do?
That's a very good question. That is actually a very fair question from a neutral, because from Chelsea fans' point of view, we like to see the good that he does. But from a neutral's point of view, it's like, this guy's 6'2". He doesn't score goals.
3 even.
Not 6'3", doesn't score goals. He's not quick. Like, what does he actually do? It's all well and good seeing highlights from Bundesliga, but he hasn't actually done anything in the Chelsea shirt.
I think he is deceptively
other than score against Barnsley. Do you know what I mean? In the cup.
Hattie.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah. This is the conundrum, because watch the boy play football when he's playing well, and he passes every eye test. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I mean in flashes. It's the touch, it's the vision, it's the control. Like, he does have it all. But your question is, what does he do? This is the Premier League where everything's measured in efficiency and stats. So if you're not, I mean, we were talking about Jesse Lingard yesterday in regard to the fact that he's effectively come from the wilderness and is absolutely balling and giving you numbers, and numbers talk. I mean, as a result of Cristiano Ronaldo,
but there's numbers, and then there's scoring goals every game. Okay, fine if you want to compare him to Jesse Lingard, like in terms of player ability, like who knows who's better, right? But
Kai Havertz is definitely a more
fine.
talented footballer than Jesse Lingard. But
That's not even the argument we're having.
Point that I'm making.
But that's not even the argument we're trying to have. The point is, you can say that about Jesse Lingard, but regardless of the Premier League being about efficiency, about being stats, about it being an engine where it's more well-oiled or whatever, you know, Jesse Lingard's getting talked about and getting pulled up into England squads, not because of his numbers, because he's scoring goals every week. You know, he's performing at a very high level to the point where he's forcing himself into the reckoning where he hasn't even been in the conversation for 2 years. Havertz.
Can I ask a question though? Can I ask a question? Go on.
As I say, Havertz, like I'm just a neutral in this conversation. I'm not even trying to poke the finger or antagonize you guys. You spent God knows how much on Havertz, like 78, 80 million. He's offering absolutely nothing to your side. And then you've got homegrown prospects like Mason Mount coming in and saving the day time and time again. You know, like you have to want more. It's not about numbers. It's the fact is he's not giving you anything. He's not giving you anything. He's not even if you want to be, you know, really, you know, to the point, you know, like even when, you know, some pundits are talking about the pre-assist now, he's not even high on the pre-assist numbers, you know, so he's not getting assists, he's not getting goals,
he's not getting consistent run of games either, like, which is, you know, a balance. I am hoping, and my point is like, when you watch the kid play football, I know it's all well and good, you know, saying we can't take highlights from the Bundesliga into this, but it's like he's obviously a very, very talented footballer. He's 21 years old. I'm really hoping that he emerges next season, but like you say, right now it's not good enough. And
in football you're as good as your last game. Doesn't matter what he did last season, doesn't matter what Timo Werner did last season, because any footballer will tell you you're as good as your last game, and he hasn't done anything all season.
So Trent Alexander-Arnold, is he a world-class right back then? No.
Okay.
All right. That is true. I think that's a cliche. It's not as good as your last game, but like, can I just ask a question then? Like with Jesse Lingard, obviously it's not about numbers or whatnot, but if Jesse Lingard hadn't got these goals and assists, but was performing the same way he wouldn't. It is about numbers at the end of the day, really and truly.
Yeah, the goals you're scoring. Yeah.
So the numbers.
Yeah, but it's more than his numbers. Do you know what I mean? Like it's fine playing well, but obviously he's scoring goals. Like it's everything he brings along. It's everything he brings alongside the football. It's the media like push. It's his social media presence. It's like his performances on the pitch. Why are we even talking about Jesse Lingard now though? Like, this is a video about Chelsea.
No, but it's just a comparison. It's an interesting comparison because obviously Lingard got brought into this conversation, and it is about numbers. I'm essentially agreeing with you, Kai Havertz. I haven't seen enough to see him warrant a place in the Chelsea team over Tammy Abraham, over Olivier Giroud. I feel like Chelsea would have been way better suited if Giroud started that game yesterday, or if Tammy started that game yesterday. I'm agreeing with you, but I'm just saying that a lot of the argument is predicated on numbers, and he ain't hitting those numbers. So
a point you just made though, Jamie, in regard to Lingard, it's a social media presence, etc. I do think very much punditry and perception is what leans and looms over football these days. And from the perspective of the fan base, or just in general, your layman football fan, do you want a 34-year-old lumbering Olivier Giroud warming up for you? And you're like, yeah, this is our guy, this is our bagsman, he's going to go get us goal. Or do you want this 21-year-old supposedly supreme talent who, by all accounts, I mean, if you speak to anyone that's got any concept and knowledge of football, have said he's going to be an absolute worldie. The Premier League is a ridiculously intense league. It doesn't just turn players into shit players overnight. I just think he needs time. And like you say, while the numbers aren't coming, are you warranted the opportunity? Is he earning it? Seemingly he's doing stuff in training that's getting him that starting berth, because Tuchel's been going with him a lot of late. But you know, as we just said about Jay Lings, he's coming clutch. Kai Havertz is very far from that. And
6 goals, 3 assists in 8 games. Like that's
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And again, let's come back to numbers. And I know
we can't ignore it.
Narrow it down to numbers, but that is literally it. And Kai Havertz ain't giving you the performances or numbers, hence why.
Yeah, we're talking about numbers. Kai's not even giving the performances at the moment. Yesterday was bad.
Yeah, he was bad. But like, we can go around the circles on this over and over. But at the end of the day, Chelsea had a decent, regardless of our strikers not putting the ball in the back of the net. Mason Mount came clutch, Ben Chilwell came clutch, and it looks like we're going through to the next round in the Champions League and semi-finals in the first time in 7 years. So
it's a favourable run. If you want to play Real Madrid in the semi-finals any year, you want to play them this year when they look
I think
supposedly at their weakest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Although then again, my God, that Toni Kroos ball to Vinicius Junior was just a joke.
Yeah, they're dangerous. They're dangerous.
That midfield three, they may be old, but when they turn it on, wow.
Crazy. You don't win a Ballon d'Or for no reason in Modric. Do you know what I mean? It's just crazy.
Although that Ballon d'Or.
We're not jumping into that, Louis. We're not jumping into that.
Yeah, no, we won't. We won't.
He's a baller, and that's all I'm saying.
He is a baller. Yeah.
Right. Let's just talk a little bit about Chelsea this weekend. Obviously, you've got, was it Sunday? You're away to Crystal Palace.
Got Palace, yeah.
Yeah. Do you go with a similar lineup, or do you try and change it up?
I think Callum's going to play. Yeah, boy, Callum, Jamie, you know him. Callum HudsonOdoi.
There'll be heavy rotation with Chelsea. I think Hudson-Odoi will come back in.
Alonso.
I think Alonso will probably come back in as well. I think Kurt Zouma will probably come in. I think Thiago Silva will probably come in as well. There'll be heavy rotation. I think Hakim Ziyech deserves a start. Yeah.
Maybe a start for Christian Pulisic or Tammy.
Yeah. There'll be heavy rotation, and I feel like we've put ourselves in a decent enough position to kind of obviously put out a strong enough team against Palace to get the win, but also have one eye on midweek to make sure we get the job done against Porto. So Chelsea squad's deep. I think that we haven't really got many excuses. That's why there wasn't many excuses after the West Brom game, because regardless of the lineup that we put out, we should be beating most teams in the Premier League, which we have been doing under Tuchel bar the West Brom game. So no matter what lineup we put out against Crystal Palace and then Porto next week, we should win both games, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the Premier League. You know, anyone can beat anyone. It's gonna be a good game anyway. And as a West Ham fan, I can't wait. It's so exciting to see this top four race. You know, every game's must win, and I think the one benefit that we have is that we don't have to play midweek games in Sevilla. You know, so yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. In the meantime, Kwaku, let's wrap up the video. Where can they find us?
So obviously make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, We Talk Football Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at We Talk Football Podcast, on Twitter at WTF Podcast 90. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, you can find us on Spotify. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled for more videos coming up next week.
Sick. And where can they find you, Louis?
Oh, I'm everywhere. Street corners, Gmail. Yeah, if you want to chat, hit me up.
OnlyFans, yeah?
Yeah, OnlyFans mainly. But to be honest, after the first plug, it's blown up. So I'm thinking of scaling back.
Hit him up. He's running what is it, £20 a month deal at the moment, right?
Yeah, exactly, mate.
Sick. Hit him up. But yeah, we'll catch you next time, guys, later on.